Kira leaned over the holographic table, her slender fingers tracing the faint lines of a map that showed the far reaches of the galaxy. The stars glimmered like scattered diamonds in the projection, but her mind was elsewhere. She studied the words of an ancient human warning, written centuries before humanity disappeared from known records. Beware the humans. They seem weak. They are not. When cornered, they will rise and no power can stop them. The words repeated in her mind like a soft echo. Kira had read them many times, but each reading brought a new chill. Most of her fellow aliens dismissed it as myth. Humans had long been thought extinct, their early colonies abandoned, their ships old legends. The idea that humans could still exist and be dangerous seemed impossible to the Empire. Archivist Veln, her mentor, watched her with quiet curiosity. He was an older alien with a tall, thin frame and deep violet skin that shimmered faintly in the room's light. "Kira," he said, his voice calm but firm, "you spend too much time thinking about old stories. Humans were primitive. They could not have survived this long. Why waste your mind on shadows?" Kira's amber eyes glimmered. "Because shadows sometimes hide storms," she replied softly. "I feel something. Something is stirring. The warning is not a myth." Veln sighed and shook his head. "Curiosity can be dangerous, young one. The Empire has bigger matters. Focus on what we can control." But Kira could not. The unease inside her had grown stronger in the past months. Reports had begun arriving from the farthest outposts. Signals, strange readings, sudden ship disappearances. Nothing matched anything known in the Empire's technology. No alien fleet had reported such anomalies before, yet the humans, maybe they were involved. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden chime of the communication console, a message from Outpost 19 near the edge of the Andralis sector. Kira's heart skipped a beat. Messages from these remote regions were rare. "Archivist Veln," she said, her voice urgent. "Look at this." Veln moved closer, his eyes narrowing as he studied the screen. The message was fragmented, partially corrupted by interference, but the words were clear enough. "Unidentified ship, powerful per weapons, destroyed our patrols, vanished. Warning. Humans?" Veln's brow furrowed. "This cannot be. Patrols are strong. Nothing can destroy them without a fleet." Kira swallowed hard. Exactly. But something did. For hours the two worked to decode the rest of the message. Bits of images appeared, silhouettes of strange ships too streamlined for alien design, their edges glowing faintly with an energy they could not identify. One ship, larger than any recorded before, seemed to move faster than any known propulsion. And there was no sign of the crew, no remains, only devastation. "They disappeared," Kira whispered, like the humans were never there. Veln leaned back, rubbing his temple. "You may be right, Kira, but even if humans survived, could they really strike now? After centuries of nothing, why now?" Kira looked at the holographic map again. The region near Outpost 19 was on the edge of human territory centuries ago, but no Empire fleet had ventured there in decades. Maybe they were waiting. Maybe we forgot how careful they are. Maybe that warning was not just a caution, it was a prophecy. The archivist frowned. "Prophecies are for storytellers, not scholars." Kira shook her head, feeling a tight knot of unease. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was approaching, a force that no one had noticed until it was already too close. Hours later, Kira stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars. The Empire's fleets moved in orderly patterns like graceful dancers in the void. Everything seemed normal, calm, peaceful. But her instincts screamed otherwise. A sudden alert flashed on the deck's monitor. Kira's pulse quickened. "Report," she called. The officer at the console, a young cadet named Laura, swiveled toward her. "Unknown ship, Kira, near Outpost 19, no identification. Moving fast. Sensors show energy spikes. Weapons discharges." Kira felt a shiver. "Can we track it?" Laura shook his head. "It appeared out of nowhere, and then nothing. It vanished. All signals gone." Veln came to her side, silent now, the worry on his face betraying his usual calm. This cannot be. "Not possible. But it happened," Kira said softly. "And if the warning is true, this is only the beginning." The Empire's council convened quickly, their chambers filled with stern faces and anxious whispers. High officers and scholars debated what could have occurred. Many argued it was a malfunction, a misreading of sensors, or perhaps an unknown anomaly in space. Some suggested it might even be pirates. But Kira felt a deep tension in the room, a silent fear that most were unwilling to admit. Humans had been underestimated for centuries. If the warning had been correct all along, the Empire might already be in danger. She stepped forward. We cannot ignore this. We must investigate. The humans may not be myth. They may be real. And if they are real? Her voice faltered slightly. We are not ready. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Commander Thal, the senior military officer, finally spoke. Young scholar, with respect, humans are extinct. Even if they exist, we are far stronger. This is no threat. Focus on known dangers. Kira's eyes burned with determination. You dismiss what you do not understand. If we wait until it is too late, no fleet, no technology, no strategy will save us. Please, send a team. Just one observation fleet. Let us see the truth. There was a pause, heavy and tense. After a long moment, Thal finally nodded reluctantly. Very well. One fleet. But it is only reconnaissance. No engagement. Kira left the council chambers with a mix of relief and worry. At least now she could find the truth. She knew that whatever the humans were, they would not make themselves easy to find. Days later, the observation fleet reached the outskirts of the Andralis sector. Kira watched through the viewports as strange flickering lights appeared among the stars. The fleet moved carefully, scanning, sending probes and preparing for sudden danger. Suddenly, the fleet sensors picked up a signal, a massive ship, unlike anything they had cataloged. Its hull shimmered with energy that bent light in strange ways. Kira's heart pounded. It's them, she whispered. Humans. The ship moved with a speed and precision that left the fleet struggling to keep up. Energy readings spiked, and then, without warning, the ship fired a pulse of energy that disabled several reconnaissance vessels. There was no chaos, no explosions in the way the Empire expected, only the ships drifting, systems offline, their crews safe but trapped in place. Kira's eyes widened. Humans were not reckless. They struck quickly with precision and disappeared before retaliation could begin. Velm stood beside her, pale and silent. I see it now, he said quietly. The warning. It was true. Kira swallowed hard. And this is only the beginning. The fleet was forced to retreat, reporting back to the Empire the terrifying truth. Humans were not weak. They were not primitive. They were powerful, strategic, and patient. And now, after centuries of silence, they had begun to return. As the fleet jumped back toward the core, Kira looked at the stars, feeling both fear and awe. The ancient warning had come alive. The humans once thought extinct were real, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Somewhere across the void, the human ship drifted silently. Its crew watched the sensors, calm, alert, and ready. They had waited, planned, and now the warnings of centuries ago were proving horribly true. Kira's mind raced with one thought. The Empire had ignored history. Now history was about to strike back, and in the silence of space, the first echoes of that strike began to ripple outward, unstoppable and undeniable. The council chamber was silent, but the tension in the air was heavy enough to weigh on everyone's shoulders. Reports from the Andralis sector had returned, and what they showed was unlike anything the Empire had ever faced. Kira stood at the center of the room, her amber eyes scanning the faces of council members and military officers. Even the usually confident Commander Thal looked pale and uneasy. Holographic displays floated above the table, showing the damaged observation fleet and images of the strange human ship. Explain again, Thal said, his voice low but sharp. How did a single human ship disable multiple vessels without even boarding them? Kira pointed to the projections. They move faster than anything we know. Their technology is adaptive. It reacts instantly. Our patrols were never prepared for it. A young officer frowned. That could be a malfunction. Some kind of natural interference in the sector. No, Kira said firmly. The energy readings were deliberate. The humans have control over it. It was a targeted strike, precise, careful. They are not random or primitive. The room was quiet, as if everyone waited for someone to say the impossible. Finally, Archivist Velm spoke, his usually calm voice shaking slightly. The warning. It may not have been a warning at all. It may have been a record. Humans have survived, and they are stronger than we ever imagined. There were murmurs across the chamber. Some officers shook their heads. Others looked worried, their eyes avoiding Kira's. But she didn't back down. We need to prepare, she continued. We cannot treat this as a minor anomaly. Humans may not only exist, they may be returning intentionally. Commander Thal rubbed his temple. Returning? After centuries? Kira, that's highly unlikely. Even if they survived, why would they act now? Kira's eyes narrowed. Because we ignored them. Because the Empire grew complacent. Because every civilization has a breaking point, and humans, they reach theirs when cornered. The Council debated for hours. Most argued that the humans were extinct, that these were isolated incidents, that the Empire's fleets were strong enough to defend any system. But Kira noticed the fear behind their words. Even those who claimed confidence were uneasy. Finally, Thal turned to her. You may be right. But how do we find them? How do we confront an enemy we do not fully understand? Kira's mind raced. We don't confront them yet. We observe, we learn. We prepare. Send a reconnaissance fleet to their home system. Study their technology, their tactics, everything we can. Then we decide our next move. The Council hesitated. A mission to the human system was risky. No fleet had entered it for centuries, but the evidence was impossible to ignore. All right, Thal said finally. A small fleet. Observation only. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. Kira felt a mixture of relief and worry. At least now she would learn the truth. The fleet assembled at the edge of known space. A small group of sleek ships bristling with sensors and scanners. Kira joined them. Traveling in the lead vessel, her mind focused on every detail. Every signal, every flicker of energy, every unknown reading was logged and analyzed. For days, the fleet scanned the region. Nothing seemed out of place at first. Asteroids drifted in silence. Stars shone brightly, but then faint energy readings appeared like whispers in the dark. Small bursts of energy, unusual patterns in the space currents, and traces of propulsion that did not match anything in the Empire's records. Kira studied them carefully. They are here, she told the captain. I can feel it. Something is watching us. The captain, a seasoned alien named Rylan, frowned. You speak as if they are intelligent. You think this is not natural? No, Kira said. It is deliberate. They want to be found. Or they are testing us. At night, when the fleet's lights dimmed to conserve energy, Kira stood on the observation deck, staring into the endless black. Her mind drifted back to the ancient warning, beware the humans. They seem weak. They are not. When cornered, they will rise. She had never truly understood it until now. Humanity was not just another species. They were something different, something that did not follow ordinary rules. Days later, the fleet picked up a strong signal. It was unlike anything the Empire had catalogued. The energy signature was enormous, almost alive, moving through space with deliberate precision. Loris, the young cadet, stared at the readings in shock. It's huge, bigger than any capital ship we've seen. And it's moving fast. Too fast. Kira's heart pounded. Humans. The fleet followed cautiously, scanning the ship as it drifted near a small, seemingly abandoned planet. Sensors showed signs of recent activity, structures, energy fields, and machines that repaired themselves almost instantly. This is human technology, Kira whispered, and it's centuries ahead of anything we expected. Veln, who had joined the fleet to observe, looked grim. They adapted. They survived. They improved. And they waited for the right moment. The fleet's commander ordered a scan of the nearby systems. What they discovered was astonishing. Human colonies, long thought abandoned, were active. Energy shields protected them. Advanced defense systems surrounded them. Ships moved quietly between planets, unseen by ordinary sensors. They've hidden all this time, Kira said, awe in her voice. And now they are ready. Suddenly alarms blared. A small patrol ship reported being disabled without warning. Systems offline. Crew safe but unable to move. The same precise strike they had seen before. Humans again, striking without warning, then disappearing. The fleet commander clenched his claws. How can one ship do this? Kira shook her head. It's not one ship. They are coordinated. They act with strategy, patience, and intelligence, and they never overextend. The realization hit the fleet hard. The humans were not reckless fighters. They were careful, smart, and patient. Every strike, every movement, every observation was calculated. The Empire had never faced anything like this. Back in the Council, the news reached the capital. Panic spread quietly among the officers and scholars. Some argued for immediate military action. Others urged caution. Kira watched as fear replaced arrogance in their faces. "We underestimated them," she said, her voice trembling slightly with frustration. "The warning was not a myth. Humans are not weak, and if we do not act carefully, the Empire will suffer." Thal, seated beside her, nodded slowly. "You were right, Kira, they are not extinct. They are here, and we do not yet know what they want." The Council decided to send a second reconnaissance fleet, this time larger and better equipped, but Kira knew it might already be too late. Humans were not only surviving, they were learning, adapting, and waiting for the perfect moment. Weeks passed. The reconnaissance fleets sent back reports of strange activity. Human-controlled drones repaired planets, scavenged resources, and even repurposed old alien technology. Nothing was wasted. Everything was improved. "It's as if they planned this for centuries," Kira said quietly, reviewing the latest reports. "Every warning, every story, every signal, it was all preparation. They waited for us to forget them, and now they are returning with full strength." Veln nodded slowly. "They are patient, yes, but they are not cruel. They strike where necessary, and they avoid unnecessary harm." Kira looked at him in surprise. "You think they are merciful?" He smiled faintly. "Not merciful. Calculated, they understand balance. They do not act from anger or pride. They act from knowledge, experience, and survival." Kira shivered. She realized that the Empire's arrogance had blinded them for centuries. They had dismissed the warning, ignored the signs, and now they were awakening a force that could not be stopped by conventional means. One night, as Kira watched the stars from the observation deck, a single message appeared on the fleet's secure channel. It was brief, chilling, and unmistakably human. "We remember the warning. Now you will too. No name, no ship identification, no demand. Just the message. And a trail of energy signatures leading back to the human system." Kira's heart raced. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. Veln stood beside her, silent. His mind, normally so logical, was now filled with unease. "We have ignored history, and history is returning to remind us." As the fleet prepared to return to the Empire with their reports, Kira realized the truth. Humans were no longer a distant legend. They were real, they were powerful, and they had begun to act. The centuries-old warning was alive, and the galaxy would soon learn its meaning. And somewhere, far across the stars, humans continued to watch, wait, and prepare. Their time had come. The warning was no longer words on a page. It was reality. The Andralis sector had become a quiet tension point for the Empire. The once peaceful space lanes were now filled with anxious whispers, fleet movements, and constant scanning. Kira sat on the bridge of the lead vessel, staring at the holographic display. Every reading, every energy pulse, every flicker of unknown signals made her pulse quicken. Commander Thal paced behind her, his usual confidence replaced with a growing unease. "Kira, we have done everything we can to monitor them, yet they remain invisible until they choose to strike. How is this possible?" Kira shook her head. "It is possible because humans do not act like any species we know. They think differently, they adapt differently, and they strike only when they see the perfect opportunity." Thal groaned. "And now, apparently, that time has come." Reports had begun arriving in waves. Alien patrols and remote systems were finding entire outposts disabled, yet the crews unharmed. Energy shields had been neutralized, defense systems dismantled but without a single casualty. Every strike was precise, deliberate, and methodical. Kira reviewed the latest report. "They are testing us," she said softly. "Every strike, every disabled station, every captured sensor. They are observing how we react. They are learning about our strengths and, more importantly, our weaknesses." The captain of the reconnaissance fleet, Rylan, leaned over her shoulder. "You are saying humans are not reckless, but smarter than us?" "Yes," Kira replied. "Smarter, patient, and careful. They are not here for glory or conquest. They are here to remind us that the warning was true, and we underestimated it for centuries." The fleet moved cautiously through the sector. Suddenly, the alarms blared. Another patrol had reported multiple energy pulses near the edge of the Ardent Nebula. Kira studied the readings. There, she pointed. A formation of human ships appeared, moving silently through the gas clouds. They were smaller than the massive ships the Empire had feared, but perfectly coordinated. They worked as one unit, precise, flawless, and invisible to ordinary sensors until they wished to be seen. Thal's claws tightened on the railing. How can a single formation do so much damage without being detected? Kira did not answer. She already knew. Humans were masters of adaptation. Their technology was alive with intelligence, responding to threats, analyzing opportunities, and acting with speed no one could match. The human ships struck quickly. The patrol ships in the nebula found themselves disabled without warning, systems offline, power drained, crew trapped but safe, unable to move or resist. When the humans disappeared as fast as they came, the fleet was left shaken. They do not fight like us, Kira whispered. They fight smart. They fight efficiently. They strike where it matters and then vanish before retaliation. Ryland's voice was tense. We must warn the Empire. We need reinforcements. Yes, Kira agreed. But reinforcements will not be enough. Humans do not follow the rules we expect. Conventional fleets, conventional weapons, they will not work. We need understanding, strategy, and preparation. Meanwhile, deep within the human system, crews of human ships watched the scanners. They did not celebrate, nor did they hurry. Every strike, every disabling of alien ships was calculated. They avoided unnecessary damage, focusing only on military assets or strategic points. One human captain, standing on the deck of a mid-sized ship, observed the reports carefully. They are learning, she said softly. Every move we make teaches them something. Every fleet we disable shows their weaknesses, but also their resilience. Remember patience first. Strike only when needed. Her second-in-command nodded. They underestimate us, as they always do. Exactly, the captain replied. And that is their mistake. Back with the alien fleets, Kira and Thal continued to observe. Reports of strange activity kept arriving from multiple systems. Planets previously thought uninhabited were now occupied with advanced structures. Energy fields appeared around installations and alien ships were found disabled, not destroyed. Kira realized a pattern. Humans were not reckless or aggressive without reason. They did not destroy civilians or infrastructure unnecessarily. They struck only when the Empire's actions threatened them or their survival. Their attacks were surgical, precise, and terrifying in their efficiency. They are teaching us, she whispered to Veln, who stood beside her silently. Every strike is a lesson. Every observation shows their intelligence. They are proving the warning right. Veln's deep violet eyes reflected the holographic displays. I see it, Kira. They are not a threat in the conventional sense. They are an inevitability, Kira nodded grimly. And if the Empire does not act carefully, that inevitability will crush us. The reconnaissance fleet moved cautiously from one sector to another. Alien fleets tried to engage, but every encounter ended with the humans disappearing before retaliation could be mounted. Alien officers began murmuring about their arrogance, their miscalculations, and their inability to anticipate human strategy. Kira noticed the fear growing, even among those who had once dismissed the warning. They were beginning to understand what she had felt for months. Humans were not weak. Humans were patient, adaptive, and relentless. A week later, another message appeared on the Empire's secure channel. This time it was accompanied by images of the disabled outposts. The message was simple, chilling, and unmistakably human. We warned you. You did not listen. We will not wait again. The council received the report in silence. Even Thal did not speak. Kira's eyes burned with worry. The humans were no longer hiding. They were beginning to make their presence known in a way that could not be ignored. Archivist Veln turned to her. Kira, what do we do now? They are stronger than any fleet, more intelligent than any strategist. We cannot meet them with force alone. We observe, Kira replied. We learn. We prepare. And we hope they do not strike harder until we understand their methods fully. Humans do not act without reason, but we cannot rely on restraint. In the Andralis sector, humans began more direct strikes. Supply lines, weapon depots, and strategic satellites were targeted. No one was killed unnecessarily. Ships were disabled, but crews were safe, left with messages or signs that they had been observed. The Empire was forced into a defensive stance, reacting to human actions rather than initiating any themselves. Kira watched every report, every image, every sensor reading. She began documenting humans' behavior, understanding patterns, strategies, and decisions. She realized their strength was not only in weapons but in intellect, adaptability, and patience. They were not merely survivors. They were planners, teachers, and strategists. They fight differently, she said to Veln. They use intelligence, creativity, and coordination, and they never overreach. Everything is calculated, Veln nodded slowly, and centuries of underestimation have brought us to this point. We ignored the warning, Kira, and now it is real. The humans' next move was more audacious. A fleet appeared near a key military outpost, disabling its defenses in moments. Communications went down, power systems were neutralized, and the outpost was rendered useless. Yet no lives were lost. No structure beyond what was necessary was harmed. The message left behind was clear. Humans were capable of great destruction, but they also had a code, a precision that the Empire could not match. Kira's stomach tightened as she read the report. This is a warning, she said softly. They are showing us what they can do, and what happens if we resist too strongly. Commander Thal finally spoke, his voice heavy with realization. We have underestimated them for centuries. Now we see the truth. And it is terrifying, Kira nodded. Yes, and this is only the beginning. They will not stop until they have ensured the Empire understands them. And that warning. The warning we all ignored. It is coming true, horribly. That night, Kira stood on the observation deck staring into the stars. She thought about the humans, about their patience, their intelligence, and their precision. She thought about the centuries-old warning, ignored by generations of the Empire's leaders. They are teaching us, she whispered. They are showing us that weakness is not what it seems and strength is not what we imagined. The Empire must learn or it will fall. Veln joined her quietly. And when the Empire falls, will it be because they were strong or because we were foolish? Kira's eyes burned with determination. Both, perhaps. But we still have a chance. We can learn. We can adapt. We can survive, if we are clever enough. Somewhere across the void, humans continued their silent operations. They observed, they adapted, they struck, but always with precision. The centuries-old warning was no longer a message from the past. It was a living reality, and the Empire had only begun to understand the storm that had awakened. The Empire's capital had never seen such tension. The usual calm of the council chambers was replaced by hurried discussions, raised voices, and anxious gestures. Reports arrived constantly from the front lines, ships disabled, outposts rendered useless, and systems under quiet, precise human attacks. No lives were lost unnecessarily, but the message was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. Kira stood at the edge of the council hall, her mind racing. She had warned them. She had begged them to pay attention to the centuries-old warning. Now it was too late for doubt. Humans were not myths. Humans were active, and the Empire was faltering under their strategic strikes. Commander Thal paced in front of the council. We cannot respond conventionally. Every fleet we send is disabled. Every outpost we reinforce is rendered useless. Their speed, their technology, it is beyond anything we have faced. The humans, they are not just returning. They are proving centuries-old predictions correct. Archivist Veln stood beside Kira, silent but tense. They are patient, he said quietly. They strike with precision. They avoid unnecessary damage. They do not act recklessly, yet they force us into panic. The warning was true. The council erupted into debate. Some wanted to strike immediately, to show force and reclaim control. Others argued for retreat, for regrouping, for observation. The disagreement split the room, creating tension and frustration. Kira raised her voice, cutting through the arguments. We cannot fight them with pride, arrogance, or conventional strategy. Every fleet we send blindly will be disabled. Every outpost we build without understanding will fail. We must learn, adapt, and think like they do. A senior officer sneered. And who are you, young scholar, to tell us how to fight? You have no command experience. Kira's amber eyes flashed. I have knowledge. I see patterns. I understand what humans are capable of. If you ignore me, the Empire will continue to stumble blindly. And the humans, they will teach us the hard way. The room fell silent. Even Thal did not speak. Kira's words carried weight because the evidence could not be denied. Human strikes were not reckless. They were carefully calculated. They were patient. And they were teaching the Empire a lesson it had ignored for centuries. Meanwhile, across the Empire's sectors, humans continued their operations. Their ships moved silently, using the shadows of space, nebulae, and unmonitored lanes. Entire patrol fleets were disabled without warning. Systems were neutralized, weapons rendered useless, but no lives were lost unnecessarily. Each action seemed designed to show strength, intelligence, and precision. One human officer observed the scanners carefully. "The Empire still does not understand," she said to her team. "They react without thinking. They waste resources. We only strike when it is necessary. Observation, patience, precision, this is how humans endure." Her second-in-command nodded. "They think they control space, let them. We are teaching them a lesson they have ignored for centuries." Back at the Empire's capital, political tension was rising. Some council members demanded aggressive action against the humans. Others whispered about surrendering key sectors to avoid further losses. The division caused chaos. Fleet commanders argued, generals complained, and advisors were torn between pride and fear. Kira observed all of it silently, her heart heavy. She knew the humans were watching. Every council argument, every hurried decision, every hasty plan, it was all visible to their precise sensors. Humans were learning the Empire as much as the Empire was trying to confront them. "They are studying us," Kira said to Veln. "Every reaction, every plan, every failure, they observe it all. Humans are not just attacking, they are teaching us what we ignored for centuries." Veln nodded slowly, and the Empire's arrogance blinds it. They think humans are gone, myths, stories. Now they see the truth, and it terrifies them. In the frontier sectors, fleets struggled to defend key planets. Humans appeared suddenly, striking resource hubs, communications arrays, and lightly defended stations. The strikes were precise. The humans disabled systems without destroying them, leaving messages or signs that the Empire had been observed. Kira studied every report, noting patterns. Humans acted like predators, but not mindless ones. They were strategic, careful, and patient. They adapted to every move of the Empire, anticipating responses, and leaving minimal trace of their presence beyond the effects of their actions. "They are not here to destroy," Kira told Thal quietly during a briefing. "They are here to remind us of the warning, and every action they take shows intelligence, precision, and patience." Thal rubbed his claws over his face. "I cannot deny it any longer. Every fleet we send, every outpost we reinforce, every patrol we dispatch, it is not enough. Humans are unlike any species we have ever faced." Kira nodded. "And the Empire's pride is its weakness. They still think technology and numbers alone will protect them. They forget that humans fight differently. Humans survive differently. Humans endure differently." Chaos spread beyond the fleets. Some governors began to panic, sending troops and resources to defend sectors that had not yet been attacked. Others considered evacuating entire systems. Supply lines were strained, communications delayed, and morale dropped. The Empire, which had once been proud and orderly, now teetered on the edge of disorder. Kira walked through the halls of a command center, observing the tension. Officers argued over strategies, maps, and reports. Some insisted on brute force. Others suggested retreat. The division weakened them further. "They cannot understand humans," Kira muttered. "They only see what they expect to see. Humans are nothing like us, and if they continue to ignore the warning..." Veln placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then the Empire will suffer. Yes, but your understanding may give us a chance." Kira looked out at the holographic stars of the sector. Somewhere, humans continued to move silently, striking only where necessary, observing every reaction, teaching every lesson carefully. They did not waste energy. They did not act without reason, and they did not fight recklessly. "They are perfect teachers," Kira whispered, "and we are the students who have ignored the lessons for centuries." Suddenly, alarms blared across the capital. A massive human fleet appeared near the outer perimeter, visible for the first time in full. Ships of all sizes moved with precision, energy fields shimmering faintly as they drifted through space. The council members froze. Some gasped. Some whispered. Some sank into their chairs. The humans were not only striking, they were showing their strength in a way the Empire could not ignore. Kira felt her pulse quicken. "They are not hiding anymore," she said softly. "This is no longer reconnaissance. This is a message." Commander Thal's voice trembled slightly. "A message? What kind of message?" Kira's amber eyes were steady. "A warning. One that we ignored for centuries, and now we will see the consequences if we continue to ignore it." The humans did not attack immediately. They moved slowly, observing the fleets, analyzing responses and measuring reactions. Every action of the Empire was noted, every hesitation recorded, every mistake learned. The Council erupted into panic. Some argued for immediate retaliation. Others suggested evacuation. The divisions became louder and chaos spread. Kira realized that humans had achieved more with observation and restraint than the Empire had achieved. With fleets and armies, they do not need to strike to win, she whispered to Velen. They only need to show us how unprepared we are. Velen nodded. And the Empire's arrogance is being exposed. By the next day, the humans had withdrawn, leaving only a single ominous message in the capital's secure channels. The warning was ignored. The lesson has begun, no demands, no threats. Just the clear reminder that centuries of arrogance had consequences. Kira felt a mixture of relief and fear. The humans had not destroyed the Empire, but they had shown it its weakness. They had demonstrated intelligence, strategy, and patience, qualities the Empire had long underestimated. They are not reckless, Kira said quietly. They are precise, patient, and powerful beyond what we imagined. Velen placed a hand on her shoulder. And the Empire must learn quickly. If it does not, the next time, the lesson will be far more severe. Kira stared at the stars, the weight of centuries-old mistakes heavy in her chest. Humans had returned not with anger, but with knowledge, strategy, and precision. The Empire had ignored the warning for centuries. Now it faced the true consequence, and the humans were only beginning to teach. The Empire was no longer calm. Its fleets were scattered, its outposts crippled, and its council fractured. Panic and uncertainty had replaced pride and order. Kira moved swiftly through the corridors of the command center, scanning reports, analyzing data, and coordinating strategies. Every action of the humans had been precise, deliberate, and effective. The centuries-old warning had proven horrifyingly true. Commander Thal met her at the entrance to the main operations hall. His eyes were grim. Kira, it is worse than we feared. Entire sectors are paralyzed. Ships cannot respond. Outposts cannot function. Humans, they have shown us our weaknesses, and they continue to observe. Kira nodded, her amber eyes fixed on the holographic display of the Andralis sector. Human ships moved silently, systematically, but never recklessly. Entire fleets were disabled with minimal effort. Their tactics were intelligent, adaptive, and perfectly coordinated. She realized the humans had not returned to conquer. They had returned to teach. They are not reckless fighters, Kira said softly. They do not strike blindly. They hit where it matters and then vanish before retaliation. Every fleet we send, every outpost we fortify, every decision we make, they observe it all. The warning has come true. Thal's claws clenched. Then what can we do? We cannot fight them with fleets. We cannot outmaneuver them with technology. Every action we take seems anticipated. Kira took a deep breath. We can learn. We can adapt. That is the only way. Humans are not invincible, but they are intelligent and patient. If we study them, understand them, and act carefully, we might survive. Meanwhile, deep within the human system, fleets prepared quietly. Humans had observed the Empire's reaction to every previous strike. They had learned patterns, noted mistakes, and avoided unnecessary conflict. Their strategy was not destruction, but precision and demonstration of capability. One human captain spoke to her crew calmly. They are learning slowly. We do not destroy without reason. We only disable and observe. Every move they make teaches them what they ignored for centuries. Patience is our weapon. Her second-in-command nodded. They are finally beginning to see the truth of the warning. We only need to ensure they understand it fully. Humans had waited for centuries quietly, and now their patience was being revealed. They struck only when necessary and always with precision. Their presence was a reminder that the warning had not been a myth. It had been a prophecy. Back at the Empire's capital, Kira convened a secret council of scholars and officers who were willing to listen. The regular council was still in chaos, arguing about pride, territory, and conventional strategies. Kira's small group focused on understanding humans rather than reacting in panic. We cannot fight humans as we fight other species, Kira explained. They are not reckless. They are patient, strategic, and intelligent. They strike only where it matters. And they learn from our mistakes. One officer frowned. Then what do we do? Hide, retreat? Our fleets are scattered, our outposts are disabled, and our empire is divided. No, Kira said firmly. We learn, we adapt. We observe their patterns, understand their tactics, and then act with intelligence. Humans respect strength, yes, but they respect cleverness even more. They will not destroy without cause, but if we ignore them, they will show us the consequences. Archivist Velen added, the Empire must set aside pride. Humans do not act out of arrogance or impulse. They act for survival, intelligence, and strategy. If we understand that, we might survive the lesson they are teaching. Days later, a fleet of human ships appeared near a major Empire stronghold. They did not attack immediately. Instead, they hovered in formation, silent and precise. Sensors detected advanced energy fields and adaptive propulsion, technology that allowed them to move undetected until they chose to reveal themselves. The Empire's fleet scrambled, attempting to defend the stronghold, but humans struck with surgical precision. Weapons were neutralized.
Shields were disabled.
Ships were rendered immobile. Yet no lives were lost unnecessarily. Each strike was a demonstration of skill, efficiency, and intelligence. Kira watched from the observation deck. They are teaching us again, she whispered. Every strike, every disabled ship, every observation, they are showing us how we failed to heed the warning. Commander Thal clenched his claws. I cannot deny it any longer. Humans are not myths. Humans are not extinct. Humans are something beyond what we imagined. They are patient, Kira said. They wait, observe, and act only when necessary. That is why they survived for centuries. That is why the warning existed. Across the Empire, panic began to spread. Governors demanded reinforcements, but resources were depleted. Fleets could not respond in time. Communications were strained. The Empire had relied on pride, numbers, and technology. But humans were teaching that intelligence and patience outweighed all of these. Kira knew that the only hope was adaptation. Conventional strategies would not work. Arrogance would not help. The Empire had to learn and fast. In the command center, she gathered her trusted officers. We have one chance, she said. We must study humans, understand them, and act carefully. Every fleet we send, every decision we make must be precise. Humans respect intelligence, precision, and patience. That is our only advantage now, Velen added, and we must abandon old habits. Pride, arrogance, conventional strategy, they will not save us. Humans are not reckless. They are careful. They strike only when it matters. We must do the same. Meanwhile, humans continued their operations quietly but effectively. One by one, key sectors were observed, patterns were studied, and minimal action was taken only where necessary. They avoided unnecessary destruction, focusing on strategic lessons for the Empire. A human captain spoke calmly to her crew. Every action we take must teach a lesson. Precision is our weapon. Patience is our shield. They will see the consequences of ignoring the warning. Her crew nodded. Humans had waited centuries. They were patient, precise, and intelligent. They did not need to destroy to show strength. They only needed to demonstrate that the Empire's assumptions were wrong. In the Empire's capital, Kira and Velen monitored the outer sectors. The humans were active, but they had not escalated to full-scale attacks. They moved with purpose, always careful, always calculating. The humans do not destroy recklessly, Kira said. They strike only when necessary, but every strike shows intelligence, strength, and precision. They are teaching us, teaching the Empire the cost of ignoring the warning. Val nodded, and if we do not learn quickly, the consequences will be greater next time. Kira's mind raced. She realized that humans had not returned to conquer. They had returned to demonstrate a lesson the Empire had ignored for centuries. And now, every fleet disabled, every outpost neutralized, and every sector observed was part of that lesson. Weeks passed. The Empire slowly began to adapt. Fleets were restructured, strategies reconsidered, and officers began to understand the humans' methods. Kira worked tirelessly, analyzing patterns, predicting movements, and advising commanders. For the first time, the Empire began to fight intelligently rather than react in panic. Human operations continued, but Kira noticed subtle changes. Humans observed the Empire's adaptation. They moved more cautiously, striking only when necessary, respecting the lessons the Empire had learned. Patience, precision, and intelligence guided every human action. They are not merciless, Kira said. They teach through action, not destruction. They are careful, intelligent, and patient. The warning was never about anger. It was about survival, strategy, and intelligence. And now we understand that lesson. Vel nodded. The Empire is learning. Slowly, carefully, intelligently. Humans respect that. And perhaps we have a chance. Finally, a message appeared across the Empire's secure channels. It was simple, clear, and unmistakably human. You have begun to understand. The warning is fulfilled. Learn from it. No threats, no demands. Just the quiet, undeniable truth. Humans had waited centuries, acted precisely, and ensured that the Empire understood the cost of ignorance. Kira looked at the stars, her mind heavy but resolute. The warning has come true, she whispered. And now, it is up to us to survive, to adapt, and to remember it forever. The humans continued to move through the galaxy silently, teaching, observing, and demonstrating the truth of the centuries-old warning. They did not need to destroy to show strength. They did not need to act recklessly to demonstrate intelligence. And they did not need anger to enforce a lesson. The Empire had ignored history. Now history had returned to remind it, through patience, precision, and intelligence, that the warning about humans was not just words. It was a prophecy fulfilled, and the galaxy would never forget.